Serial killers display and exhibit a certain set of qualities and traits from early in their childhood that could include arson, wetting their beds at night, fantasizing, or in some extreme cases, murder and torture of small animals. Otis Toole, who was convicted of 6 counts of murder, was said to have been aroused by fire. Similarly, another very famous serial killer by the name of Ted Bundy, which you might be familiar with, was noted by his aunt to have a keen interest in knives by the time he was 3 years old. Ed Gein and Jeffrey Dahmer both displayed instances of social reclusiveness and anxiety in their minority as well. Now, what you may have noticed about these particular traits is that these are really things that we can control about ourselves. What you think about, what you're attracted to, or whether you wet your bed when you were a kid or not, are not really conscious decisions that you make yourself. These are often just determined by your genetics and your biology. Now, it poses a very interesting question that are serial killers born serial killers through their genes? Or are they forced into serial killers based on their life experiences and personality? Nature and nurture is a question as old as time, which inherently asks what makes us who we are. Are we defined by our genetics and our biology, or our environment and experiences? This question, while science hasn't been able to give it a definitive answer, has interested scientists for a long time. For example, the psychologists from the Swiss University of Lausanne provided research that indicated IQ is one of the most important predictors of work success, meaning that if you're not smart enough, you're not going to have as many job opportunities and you're not going to be as successful in the future as some others might be. Similarly, traits such as attractiveness, comprehension, or even a full, healthy body determine and define your path and way in life. If you would like to become a track runner in the Olympics, but you don't have strong enough legs, or you don't have legs to begin with, you're not able to fulfill that dream for yourself. If both your parents have a genetic disease, you're under very extreme risks of also contracting the disease, despite what you might want to do about it. This really paints a very hopeless picture for our nature as humans, and this train of thoughts extends itself into culture as well. For example, in certain countries and in certain cultures, there's this belief that children, regardless of their environment and upbringing, will inherit certain traits of their parents and forefathers. For example, if one of your parents was a thief, but you were adopted and raised by a family of generous, kind people, there would be a real chance through this way of thinking that you would also grow up to become a thief, despite never interacting with your ill-natured parents. Now, this might at first glance sound a bit unreasonable. How can you inherit certain traits from your parents if you've never met them? But the case of the Gimm Brothers really illustrates the real possibility and truth behind this train of thought. Jim Springer and Jim Lewis were 2 American brothers that were separated at birth through adoption. Both children were given the name James by their parents, and also it's worth noting that these 2 kids did not know of the existence of the other. And both grew up to marry 2 women, both named Linda. Both Jims divorced Linda, did their own Lindas, and married 2 other women who both happened to also be named Betty. Both Jims grew up to have 1 child, a boy by the name of James Allen, and both Jims ended up having the same breed of dog named Toy. Both Gimm smoked the same brand of cigar, they both drove the same car, went to the same Florida beach for vacation, had the same job as security guards, and had the same hobby as carpenters. And keep in mind, again, these two brothers never interacted with each other and did not have the same parents, so how did they end up so similar? The scientists who found these two brothers asked them to draw the picture of a house to observe the way they thought and perceived certain concepts. And to their surprise and to their fear, both brothers drew an extremely and eerily similar picture of the same house with a tree by the side. Now, again, this might feel very hopeless for us. If these two brothers who had no contact ended up being so similar through their biology, what keeps us from having no control over our own actions? Is the way we're born going to decide every single decision that we'll make for ourselves? Is our biological blueprint going to seal our fate and make us end up either behind bars as a serial killer or behind the desk of a successful CEO of a mega corporation? Professor Michael was interested in answering this question. So he asked another question that is equally interesting. What makes a good rat mom? Mother rats are known to exhibit care and affection for their offspring through the act of licking. If a mother rat licks its pup, the pup will also grow up to lick its own offspring. And conversely, if the mother rat does not lick the pup will grow up to not lick its own offspring either. Michael Meany switched the position of the two rat offsprings and gave the children of the low-licker rat to the high-licking mother and gave the children of the high-licking mother to the low-licking rat. And to his surprise, he saw that this trait that he had presumed to be genetic ended up being environmental, as in the children that were given to the high-licking rat ended up becoming high-licking similar to their foster mother, and the children given to the low-licking rat ended up becoming low-lickers as well. The scientist then goes a step further and analyzes them on a biological level, and he looks at their DNA and how their DNA expression is organized. What he saw was that a group of molecules known as methyl groups were attached to the genes responsible for expressing motherly care in the rats. And interestingly enough, the high-licking rats were missing these methyl groups. What he concluded from this observation is that the act of licking caused the secretion of certain hormones inside the body of the rats that removed the methyl groups and made the rats more loving. In other words, their environment and their upbringing changed their nature and biology on a fundamental level. I did give you the example of the Gimm brothers earlier on, but there are another set of twin brothers separated at birth who had the complete opposite experience of the Gimm brothers. We have Oscar Stohr and Jack Yufei. Oscar Stohr was born under Nazi Germany, and he ended up joining Hitler Youth, as opposed to his brother, who was raised as a Jew in Trinidad, and they both fight on the opposite sides of the Second World War. And they ended up only meeting each other years after. Similarly, there are many children who enjoy lighting a few fires, or wet their beds at night, or fantasize about many different subjects, or even enjoy